Afternoon guys, Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. What I thought I'd do today is I would go ahead and show you how I made this Bushcraft Bucksaw. And this is a very similar project to the Bushcraft Bowsaw that we made. And the difference between a bucksaw and a bowsaw is that a bowsaw basically just has one solid framing device, where this is in multiple pieces. Now remember that with saws, with an SAK saw of some kind, you're going to be able to tackle sticks pretty much with that, and you're going to be able to do a lot of notching and things with that SAK saw as well on a multi-tool or on some kind of a Swiss Army knife. When you get into something bigger, the 2-inch diameter, maybe 3 inches, you're going to want a folding saw, a good folding saw like a Bucksaw Laplander. But once you get beyond that, you start talking about things beyond the 4-inch mark, where you're talking about 6, 7, 8-inch logs you want to process. You're going to need a big heavy saw for that, or an axe. And I prefer a saw in that it takes less energy than an axe a lot of times. It's also less dangerous to operate than an axe, because you're not swinging a big heavy sharp object at that point. You're just pushing a saw blade. So let's talk about the difference between bow saws and buck saws as far as advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of a bow saw is the simplicity of a bow saw. The frame is very simple, one piece. You saw that we made that last one out of a hickory sapling. One piece, bent over, notched on both ends, and stretched a blade between it. It's pretty simple. The advantage to a buck saw over a bow saw is that you can actually get two hands on the saw to really get some operation going on this thing and really get heavy-handed with it. You're not going to be able to do that very easy with a bow saw. So buck saws do have some advantage. They do have more components, more things that can break and things like that than a bow saw, but there are advantages to them, like I said, if you're trying to process a lot of lumber. So I thought what I'd do today is, I had made a video once before on how to make a buck saw in the woods, but I used lumberyard material. It was about 3 years ago, so that video is very poor quality. So I thought today what I'd do is we would reverse engineer this buck saw, basically take it apart, and I would show you exactly how I made it. It's 4 very simple pieces of wood, some bank line, the saw blade. This is a 21-inch replaceable saw blade, replacement saw blade for a buck saw or bow saw, and then the 2 key rings just like we used in the bow saw video. So let's walk through this real quick and take it apart, and we'll show you how we made it. Very simple. This whole thing can be constructed with a Swiss Army knife or a multi-tool saw blade, because there's nothing in here bigger than about an inch and a half in diameter. Okay, so let's look at our main components real quick of this frame saw. And basically we have a piece that goes across 2 uprights, and then we have a tensioning stick here that just winds a line to pull this together, which works against a spreader bar to spread out and put tension on the blade. Pretty simple concept. So if we take this tensioning device and we undo it, in other words, we set it to the side and we let it go slack, we can then pull it off of here very easily to disassemble this if we wanted to put it in our pack and take it with us when it wasn't in one piece. You can see I've got a notch cut in it here with a piece of paracord to hang it in camp to keep it up and safe. Once you have this tensioning device undone, I have 2 notches in here that this tensioning cord is in, and you'll have to pop it out of those notches once you get it loosened up completely, which I don't have it loosened up completely yet. And that basically is just a continuous loop on a piece of bank line. You can see this one's starting to wear out, it's getting old. I need to replace that, and I may do that while we're doing this video. And basically I've just taken a flat stick long enough to catch on that center tensioning device, punched a hole in it with my awl on my multi-tool or my SAK, and just pushed a line through and made a loop to hold on to it. Very simple device to make. We can go ahead and take that apart now, since we're going to replace it anyway. Go ahead and pull that out of there. So we have that piece that we need. Then we have our tensioning bar, which basically just has 2 flats cut on it here, and on the other end it's dished out in the center to allow that tensioning device or tensioning paddle to rest on it without sticking out, basically, is all that's for. And then we have 2 uprights here, and we have cut the bottom of them just exactly like we did the bow saw, where we have sliced it in lashed it to make sure that it's not going to split out any further, and that's where our saw blade goes into. And then we have one on the other side exactly the same as that, and that's where our loop is. And then I've cut notches here and here to catch my string, my tensioning string. So these are our simple components to our bucksaw. Now let's take this and replace this string while we're here. So we'll get another piece of number 36 bank line cut off with our knife here real quick. And again, all I did with that was doubled that up and fed it through the hole on this tensioning device that I drilled in with my awl. Just like that. Pulled it over and basically made a slip knot right there with line coming out both ends, just like that. So if we're going to put this saw back together after we are done, what we've done is we've laid our pieces out so that we understand we need this piece to tension between these two, just like this, with our saw blade in the middle, and basically want them to squeeze out this direction when they're pulled so that it tensions the saw blade. It's a very, very simple concept. So what I do is I just take that split just like I did on the bucksaw, or on the bow saw, excuse me. I load that in there right up to the key ring. Then I take the other side and do the same thing, making sure that my notches are to the inside. Just like this. You can work that in there with your hand. Kind of pull it over to the key ring, and then grab that key ring and yank it down in there, just like that. So then you've got this configuration laying there like this. Now this device just goes in between here and here to put pressure on that blade when these ends are squeezed together. So then we'll take our tensioning device, and all I did was I laid it in the groove just like this and like this. Basically pulled it to the center here and tied a fisherman's knot here to make a continuous loop. If I tie this cord to this one, just like this, and tie this cord to this cord, like this, feed it through till it's fairly tight, and then pull those against each other. That's going to give me a joining knot, and then I can just trim the edges off of that, trim the slack off of it, just like this. And then put that back on there right in my slots, just like this. And again, as I tighten this down, as I tighten this tensioning device down like this against itself, twisting it, making sure that I stay in my notches here, this will eventually start to tighten my blade. Like that. And the more tension I put on this, the tighter that blade's going to get. This 36 bank line is pretty strong stuff. You can put an awful lot of tension on this, and I don't have to worry too much about it. But I just need enough to where the saw is stable and it's not rocky or shaky. Couple more wraps there. Wrap that around to the front like that. And that's my assembled Bushcraft Bucksaw. Very, very simple device to make with very simple tools. All you have to do is carry the blade and the key rings. You can make everything else on the fly if you've got your 5 C's, no doubt about it. Alright guys, well I'm Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me here for another video today. on making a bushcraft bucksaw. Appreciate everything you do for me, for my school, for my family, for all my affiliate sponsors and friends. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.